Or is this full-time MMA now?
I love full-time MMA right now.
Back to the daily grind, and shout out to the full-time patrons. Make sure to hit subscribe if you're new and hit thumbs up if you're not a baby back bagel biting bitch boy, cause you know what time it is. It's full-time
MMA.
And we've got some good news out of Max Holloway's camp as they are refuting the stroke rumors that have been coming out. Now, I believe these rumors were started on, I don't want to just put it on the Brendan Schaub podcast, but that's one of probably the bigger outlets where some of these rumors came from. But Brendan Schaub, again, he didn't come out and say it was guaranteed. He was just talking about some of the symptoms that we all saw. And he said that I believe he was talking to a doctor, and the doctor said that these could be the symptoms of a mini stroke. Now, with that being said, it made a lot of sense when you look at the symptoms we saw. They were pretty rare, leading up to Max Holloway's withdrawal from UFC 226 in his fight with Brian Ortega. I mean, it seemed like he was slurring his words. Maybe his face was drooping a little bit. I mean, it seemed like one side. I mean, his right side. So it kind of was concerning because we saw the signs of potentially a mini stroke. And if you've had any experience with people that have had a stroke or even a mini stroke, that can be career threatening, especially if you're in a physical or athletics as your career. So with that being said, it was kind of scary because Max Holloway is the UFC featherweight champion. And if he didn't have a mini stroke, his health would be a lot more important than, his reign as the UFC champion. And we might have never saw Max Holloway come back or even look the same. Now, there were also reports that it could have been water poisoning from drinking way too much water before, cutting weight. And then there was even a third rumor that it could have been he got knocked out in sparring, and I believe that came from the Bisping podcast. He heard that, potentially Max Holloway had been knocked out. And now, whenever we did our speculation on it, it was just, I leaned more toward the stroke side because it's like we've seen guys knocked out. We've seen them interviewed right after they get knocked out in the octagon. We've seen fighters leading up to fights who have looked drained from their weight cut, but they didn't look the way Max Holloway did. And also we've seen a lot of fighters talking before their fights who have likely been, at least somebody has been knocked out before their fight. Max Holloway's not the first fighter that's potentially been knocked out leading up to his fight. And so the rarities of these symptoms, it didn't really lead a lot of us to believe it was a concussion, because it's like, well, wouldn't we have saw this before? Wouldn't we have saw these slurred words and these other symptoms we're seeing from Max Holloway if it was just a concussion? So the doctors have still been trying to figure out what's going on. We actually still don't have 100% clarity as to what this is with the champ Max Holloway. Just yesterday or the day before, I believe, he posted to Twitter, said he was going back to the mainland to get some more tests and thanking the UFC for helping trying to get this thing figured out like they said they would. Now, with that being said, Max Holloway's manager has released a statement to ESPN, and this is what he had to say refuting the stroke rumors. All I can say right now is we are not sure who's trying to manipulate the media with stroke rumors. I can't imagine what kind of doctor would discharge Max from the ER if they actually thought he had a stroke. And so in that, he's not actually coming out and flat out denying the stroke, but he's alluding to the fact that it probably didn't happen. So that's actually good news if you're were worried about Max Holloway's health or those symptoms that we saw leading up to UFC 226. And hopefully we can see Max Holloway booked to defend his title sometime soon, and he's not out for a lengthy period, because if that was the case, he could potentially be stripped of his title, because the UFC 226 was the second fight Max Holloway was scheduled to defend his title that he was pulled out of. UFC 223, some people are talking about that as the third time Max Holloway was pulled out of a fight, but he was taking that fight on short notice, so it's not like he was actually scheduled to defend his belt there and pulled out of the fight. That was just him trying to step up and face Habib on short notice, and the commission stopped him from cutting weight there. So Max Holloway has talked about moving up divisions in the past. If this did have something to do with his weight cut, we might see that sooner rather than later. Max Holloway, he's really cleared out a lot of the featherweight division in his rise to becoming the champion, going on that 11 fight winning streak. So if he did, worst case scenario, have to move up to lightweight, I think Max Holloway is a guy we could look at his featherweight resume, and I don't think we would really question him as a featherweight. You know what I'm saying? He definitely reigned at featherweight. But hopefully we can still get to see that fight with Brian Ortega. That would be dope. That's a fight we were all looking forward to. Even the fight with Frankie Edgar is a fight I personally wanted to see as well. Frankie Edgar versus Max Holloway. That's also another fight that I would love to see Max Holloway in the featherweight division. But we'll see what happens. I'll keep you guys updated. With that being said, it is what it is. And full-time family, we got 4 days left. Yank My Dandy Doodle will match all donations made to the fund. Link is in the description. I'm not going to beat you over the head with this, but I'm just saying it's a huge opportunity for the channel. Our lease is up in about 70 days, and so we're trying to move to a new place, on top of get the equipment we need, on top of, start a bunch of new shit for the channel. I'm actually gonna 100%, I believe, move to the Fight Companions once we get to the new studio as well. I want to do the Fight Companions, but the thing is, we just don't have what we need right now. But we're not far off. We're gonna get there, with or without the donations. I'm gonna keep grinding, and one day, before you know it, we're gonna fucking be there. So thanks to Yank My Dandy Doodle for this opportunity, and to anybody that considers donating. The link is in the description to the GoFundMe. Appreciate everybody. Let the full-time family know what you think in the comments.
Da 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 da. It's the motherfucking DOG.